In a land where everything salivates with the sole thought of killing you, where even loading screens are lethal to your health bar, and enemies are so agile they can evade your attacks by sitting still, I have come to put into perspective my experience against those ruthless DLC bosses everyone's talking about. Please refrain from hitting the dislike button with all your 7 YouTube accounts because your favorite boss is not in #1 spot. That's not how opinions work. Gaius takes the last spot because his fight is straight up broken as of today. I have made a video specifically on the topic of this fight because that is how much I hated it. Is there anyone out here capable of consistently dodging his charges? It seems very random because that hitbox is anything but trustworthy. Countless times I managed to roll through it just to get hit by the hair tip of the boar's right leg. It's ridiculous. His 8-hit combo has that Elden Ring sauce where if he connects the first, the following attack is a natural, meaning you cannot roll out of it because of how fast it comes out. The other 6 hits don't feel right. This man is riding a giant boar while wearing an armor that could rival Havel's armor in weight. Yet look at how fast he is. It's unnatural, and the bad telegraphing is just the icing on the cake. In this case, you can summon Torrent to fight, but you'll be just hurting yourself because Torrent's not fast enough to help you catch Gaius or get out of his charge properly, especially the one in second phase where he is faster than a bullet. Unless you are a master of the invulnerability arts and have mastered the mount and dismount Torrent iframes, I wouldn't recommend summoning him, because all you do is trade hits and get hit by the odd projectile from time to time. At last, his second phase transition can be misleading. Bosses like Ludwig, Melania, and Ornstein and Smoke have their second phase announced by a cutscene. Others have it shown by a specific move that they tend to do only to mark that transition, like Lady Maria when she stabs herself, or Ishin when he catches his spear. Gaius belongs to this last group, marked by a scream he does before using new gravitational magic moves, and also have his body covered by purple sparks. The one thing I hate is how he is literally the only boss I know who can move into second phase without doing anything, just out of nowhere. I died once or twice because here I was hitting him like crazy, prepared to move away the moment he screamed, but nope. Worst thing is, he's not even a bad boss, he just needs some of these issues fixed to arguably be in the top 5 of the remembrance bosses. What do you think, From Software? Will you give Hog Rider on steroids a second chance?
I hate to stir it up.
Ramina.
Has been talking shit about you. Anything you want to say? Who?
Saint of the Pod.
Who? That's what I thought.
Chances are you have finished this boss so quickly you were expecting the third phase, as it happened with the Erdtree avatar, but nope, she just vanished out of your memory due to how easy she is. Truth be told, I had no idea what I was doing, because I finished her on my 3rd try, unlike all other remembrance bosses in this DLC who took me 10 plus tries at least on an average. I just dodged whenever it seemed correct, no timing, no moveset knowledge, nothing. Her attacks are not punishing at all, and they have plenty of blind spots where you don't even need to roll to avoid them. Whenever you think about boss grabs, they are lethal, like Mesmer's or Melania's, where you can have a 40 or so HP and they will still almost kill you. But not Romina's. Look at how cutely she tickles you with that sting. One of her fortes is that she inflicts Scarlet Rot whenever she hits you with her blade, but even so, our character must have access to so many items and spells at this point that if you can't consume a few boluses or cast Flames Cleanse Me, you're doing something wrong. It surely played in my favor that I was using the Moonlight Greatsword, since she's weak to ice, but I think any build can take her out. Hit her hard enough and you'll send her to her second phase, where she now has some flying sweeps which are not difficult to evade, and she can release some butterflies which will explode into little clouds of Scarlet Rot. No matter though, just run away or bring her to a corner of the map and this will happen. Have I told you that it is very easy to break her stance and get at least 2 criticals for every fight against her? Add that one to the list of reasons why you can just breeze through her, hence why I consider her a meh boss fight, despite all her Scarlet Rot festival. The Mother of Fingers take this spot because, for starters, I didn't feel impressed by its design since it is basically an amalgamation of fingers and that's that. Then, it commits the cardinal sin of bringing smaller grunts to the fight to help it kill the player, which is a terrible boss design choice in my opinion. I have already fought these smaller hands thousands of times in the DLC and in the base game. Why would I want to have them as annoying extras that don't really do anything other than distract you so you can receive a few cheap hits? You can do the same thing with about any boss in the game, which proves how it is a sign of unoriginality. In my case, I found its moveset to be bothersome, like, for instance, the AoE that disrupts the flow of the battle because I have to get away from it before energy erupts out of the floor. Then its other moves are very bland, like the single or the triple head bash, how it jumps on top of you. It isn't until phase 2 where you start seeing a few interesting moves. Of course, it starts summoning those energy balls that will explode after some time, just like Romina's butterflies. Nothing new, and guys, listen, instead of 1 laser shot, now you get 3! The only actual nice new move is that one where it starts levitating and shoots 2 laser beams out of the black sphere, while it generates damaging energy around it, which can also feel a bit unfair if you get caught underneath it, because at least in my experience there was no way to leave it, but it looks way too good to complain about it. Comrades, we are getting straight Guardian Ape PTSD with this one. When I quote-unquote killed it for the second time and I saw it come out of the floor once more, my most honest reaction was priceless. Nice one, FromSoft. Nice one. From here on now, we'll be talking about decent to good fights. Erdtree Avatar falls in 7th place mainly because I think the others are better, not because I think it is bad. Since the fight is divided in 3 phases, they had to take a full moveset and divide it by 3, so each phase gets new things. First phase is the easiest of them all, since mostly the timings for its attacks are not very complicated, except for that ranged root thing that applies bleeding, which can be solved with jumping, but I never get my head around the timing for this one. Like Meteor, it has that type of grounded AoE that I typically dislike in bosses because it disrupts the flow of the battle just to make me run away in order to not get hit. Then, the second phase kicks in, and I think it is the hardest of them all, mainly because some of the strings it had from phase 1 get new follow-ups, so greedy/impulsive players will surely get caught a few times by these new attacks. Keep your composure, friends. Even if the boss attacks 15 times consecutively, expect the 16th hit. That is how this DLC works. Then, the evasion window for its 3 consecutive dashes can be a bit blurry sometimes, and you'll get hit randomly, but nothing on Gaius' charged level. Phase 3 comes in, and there's still a troll moment expecting you. I swear this sunflower has a deceiving brain behind those petals, because the way it prolongs its final energy explosion to catch players off guard is extremely evil. If you don't know what I'm talking about, at the beginning of Phase 3, the boss explodes once and takes a few seconds to recollect itself and start fighting again. What you don't know is that the next time it does it, it will explode more than once, which will kill you since you were sprinting towards it faster than Dr. Disrespect's running from the minor allegations. Divine Beast Dancing Lion? Or Divine Camera Dancing into the wall? I think that is one of the biggest issues with this boss, and it's not even a huge deal because you can just unlock the camera when the lion is nearby and there you go. Although, dying to a flippy camera getting sandwiched between the boss and the wall and the player can feel very frustrating. For many, this is their first official DLC boss, which goes to show that they weren't joking when they said that they were going to crank up the difficulty a notch. But what can I say, it is a cool fight, nothing extraordinary. He flies around, spins, throws some smoke or dirt out of his mouth as a projectile. As usual, the real show comes in the second phase, where it starts using elemental powers between electricity, ice and wind. For me, the hardest of these is electricity, without a doubt, mainly because healing becomes much more dangerous since the zap he throws at you is so quick you can't be locked in an animation to evade it. Then, no matter the attack, wherever it lands, more electricity will strike at that spot, so it is hard to punish the lion because you have to be constantly on the move. I always start running around and dodging until he moves to another phase. The icy phase is not so lethal, just bothersome because it can cause frostbite to your character, so pay attention to that meter. Wind is the least punishing of them all because it only gets one full new attack, which is that tornado, which is very easy to evade, just keep running. Typically, the lion needs time to transition between phases, but towards the end it will change between one and the other in a fly, and that is one of the most entertaining parts of the fight for me. Oh shit, he's coming with lightning strikes. Now he's flying around with wind powers. Now that Minimal is stomping on the ground, shattering ice everyone. What the hell is going on? His unpredictability is key for him to be a tough boss because he's quite nimble. Sometimes you won't connect attacks because he retreats 2 steps back after some of his own. My advice is take your time with your punishes. If you don't think it's safe, don't go for it. Run away when he starts spinning and throwing things out of his mouth. But if you have a long-ranged special attack like the one with the Moonlight Sword or with Rykard's Blasphemous Blade, there is a safe distance where you can hit it without having to trade. Punish him hard when he goes for the grab or for that drop attack, and at last, during the 3-hit combo before doing the spinning thing, after the first attack, sprint for a second before dodging because that is delayed. I'm not going to lie, I got very butthurt because of this one. First of all, I like the design of the boss, the intro to the arena, how other players tell me not to kill those cute animals next to the bonfire, so that's exactly what I did. What? You thought I was a monster? Come on, brother. The way he comes from all the way back charging at you with his horse full of lube, but all of this is pretty cool, so why did I get butthurt? Because I felt like it was such a cheap fight at first. He runs around on his horse, hits you, goes away, and then gets to spam strings time and time again. There were few openings, the one when he mounts his ride again and a couple more. But then I realized it was premature anger. Actually, he is a cool fight. It is very satisfying to dodge all of his moves. The I wish you were Leonard combo exceptionally. So why is he here? Because his second phase is very lackluster. All he does is throw fire that you can jump over to avoid. I think the hardest part of that fight is figuring out you have to jump instead of rolling, and that's not even difficult. He literally gains only 3 new moves: an AoE of fire, where he starts levitating with his horse, a straight line of fire, the name says it all, and a backshot fire, where you get more fire, but from behind. I think they could have done more with this second phase. The first phase is very entertaining, as you can see in the background footage. Learn the move properties, the follow-ups, the delays, and it shouldn't cost you, unless you get there under-leveled like I did with only 3 Shadow Tree Blessings. Hence why he messed me up so much. Maybe it can seem like some of his attacks feel like much of the same since they are mostly lunges and swipes. And his over-aggression can be frustrating from time to time, but trust me, it hurts to say that I got mad for no reason because there are actual fair openings to hit him, despite his agility and aggression. You just have to learn them. Midra has got to be one of the best optional bosses in the DLC. Surely it cannot compete against the likes of Curse You, Bale! And Rilana, and yes, Rilana is optional. Somehow I got to Mesmer's castle before fighting her, but that's a tale for another day. Have you even stopped to think about what you have to do to fight this boss? It requires a considerable amount of exploration and dedication. In a lower zone of the map, where you can only access from the castle, you have to enter the Dark Light Catacombs, where you expect to find a boss at the end, kill it, get a weapon, and be done with it. But this time, you get a whole new optional zone after defeating one of the most stupid bosses in this DLC. Cross all of the Abyss, making use of stealth since you don't want those Winter Lantern wannabes to see you since they are murdering machines. Get to the Winchester Haunted Mansion where everybody's gone mad, even the rats. And finally, find Midra, which at first is a scrawny little thing that dies within 4 to 5 hits. The depths of... And boom! You get your average, you fucked up cutscene courtesy of Miyazaki-kun. So, to compensate for the fact that the introduction to the fight is a literal punching bag, we get to fight an actual Lord of the Frenzied Flame in the continuation. I love how gruesome the cutscene is, and feels bad for Midra. Poor guy lost himself in the process of becoming the Frenzy Lord. He got help from Nanaya to suppress that power and not get corrupted. He was struck in the head with that sword of damnation by the horn scent, so he isolated himself to avoid succumbing to madness and hatred, and then out of nowhere, our tarnished comes to bother him in his only quote-unquote peaceful location in spite of all his warnings not to come any closer. His moveset is damned varied. Counting only the variations of his madness projectiles, he almost has more moves than the Putrescent Knight. 2 blasts to start the battle, always. 1 AoE blast. After phase 2, blasts from left to right, a constant frenzied laser beam. Do not let that one catch you idle or you're dead. Be constantly on the move in phase 2, especially if you make some distance from him. Besides being the Lord of the Frenzy of Flame, he is also the Lord of the mix-ups. The 3-hit combo can end either with a slash, a thrust that explodes as a 4th hit, or a fiery dash. He can hit once or twice with his small dagger. Sometimes the thrust mentioned before comes in a 2-hit combo, either doing the explosion at the end or not. In phase 2, he can generate a wave of fire and that's that, or do a fiery dash afterwards. His overhead after jumping is a floored AoE if it doesn't connect, but if it does, it's a pretty damaging grab. You get the idea, right? You can never be too careful with this one, especially since many of his attacks cause frenzy, which will have your character stay put massaging its head for like 3 seconds. Enough for him to kill you, since applying frenzy also reduces half of your HP approximately. He sounds pretty unfair, but he really isn't. It is easy to stagger him with heavy attacks. Try to find those windows where you can use them, for instance after the 3-hit combo. He isn't very agile either, since he only walks, although he has a few attacks that he uses to catch up to the player, but mostly just keep running away and you'll have a safe spot to heal. That's why I like it so much. Hard, but fair, entertaining and challenging. Accompanied by a villainous track that makes Mog's evil scheming theme jealous. I'm going to be honest with you, where many people dropped tears of blood to defeat her, I finished her on my 7th or so attempt, mainly because of what I said before. I skipped her, and fought her when I had like level 13 Shadow Tree Blessing, and she is weak to ice, like Romina, so it was not that hard, although I completely understand why most people would lose their shit over this duo. When you are close to her, she's restless. It feels like her attacks never stop coming, mainly because she is a very stringy boss. I mean, she uses double dexterity swords, so what do you expect? She really likes using those 6 or 4-hit combos, sometimes one after the other, which can cause the impression that you have been dodging like strings of 8 to 12 hits just to get 1 or 2 hits in depending on the weapon you're using, and that can frustrate players. One thing I really recommend people to do is to watch their own footage. Now that I have done it with every fight to do this video, their delays and follow-ups are much clearer. In Relana's 6-hit combo, the 4th one is delayed. For example, it's very easy to spot watching your own gameplay. Obviously, you won't pay as much attention when you're out there trying to survive, but sometimes these little details can fly over our heads. In my case, I think she's an awesome fight. I like her track. I like the simplicity of the arena, just a huge sphere with a smaller round pool of water in the middle that could cause a reflection of the moon. Then, her moveset is pretty varied. She has a few projectiles like that one similar to the one you can cast with the moon veil. She is agile enough to avoid your own projectiles, but also respectful enough to give you a breather whenever you want to run away and heal, and I really appreciate that. That attack where she magically extends the range of her sword for 1 vertical and 1 horizontal slash looks great, and it's not that difficult to dodge. And she can also cast 3 of those carrion homing swords projectiles. Then, in her second phase, she turns even more aggressive. Now, she doesn't cast 3 flying swords anymore, but 7 or 14. She also throws 5 moonveil projectiles now instead of 1. And I am not sure how to avoid the 2 starting ones because it's one literally after the other, maybe dodge straight forwards instead of diagonally. It does not remove much HP either way, so it's not a big deal. Dodge and run away from the fire whirlwind because it covers a wide area, especially with the fire that erupts out of the floor. And finally, her signature move, the twin moves. God, that looks so cool. I wasn't even mad when I died the first time to it. The key to evade it is jumping. It's as easy as that. If you get caught by the first one, all 2 following hits are confirmed and you'll most likely die unless you have like 60 HP. For me it's an awesome fight, an 8.5 out of 10. Maybe remove those pesky confirmed follow-up hits if you get caught by the first one, and I would have loved for her to have a cutscene with an intimidating pose and some voice lines. Still, even with those, she could not compete with the following big hitters. Radahn is back, and stronger than ever. This man is so insanely difficult he gave birth to a new species of Souls players, the shield pokers. A strategy that in my eyes makes no sense because no matter what Radahn does, that boy just blocks. Fire, block. Landing into an earthquake, block. Halos of holy energy falling on your head, block. A meteor drop followed by a kick of nostalgia, fucking block and poof! So basically, what has happened here is players saw how badass Radahn was in the trailer for the base game, a gigantic, strong and honorable cowboy. Then they fought horse lover zombie Radahn in Caelid and thought, holy bonkers fellas, I'm getting bricked just thinking about it. If Radahn is that strong, like he can hold the stars while brain rotted by Scarlet Witch, would we be able to defeat him in his prime, pre-Caelid? What players didn't realize is that Elden Miyazaki was listening to us all this time and he said, how about that? They want prime rather? I'll give them prime. And boom, we get our final boss fight where the influence of Cersei and Jaime Lannister is seen once more through George R.R. Martin in the story writing. Mog, I'm so sorry, bud. You were the good but not so good guy all along. Guys, let's drop the allegations once and for all, okay? Let's proceed with the analysis. The intro itself is badass enough to catapult him to the top of the list. I mean, he's doing it! Like in the trailer! Phase 1 is already hard enough, at least for the first 15 to 20 attempts. The timing to dodge that flying cyclone and that attack where he flies and drops boulders on your head is not hard. For the latter, if he is near a wall, most of the boulders will be destroyed by the wall itself. I think the biggest problem is the same as with Berlana, when he is in front of you. My boy, can you stop for a second? Just let me breathe. The attention to detail is pretty nice here. He has an explosive fire attack, courtesy of the Lord of Blood, who has been fusioned with him by Mikola. Not that hard to evade either. Just don't panic roll, or the explosion will catch you. He has a 5-hit combo where the 4th hit is delayed and the 5th is an earthquake, Godric style, that you have to respect before punishing him, otherwise it will hit you even if you're saucing Radahn's rear. The hardest thing about the first phase is to identify the timing of his combos and avoid getting hit by the delays. Once you do that, you'll have a free ticket towards his second phase where hell actually starts. Before that, I think it's a good idea to go to the shaman's village and find the charm called Marika's Golden Braid inside of the tree. It considerably reduces holy damage, the one Radahn applies in the second phase, and trust me, you'll need it. It took me a while to understand what the hell was going on and when I could attack, because he is the incarnation of that meme that says, Tarnished's most honest reaction to trying to punish the boss after evading a 20-hit combo and getting hit in the process. Damn, I got greedy. His projections attack 5 times before he comes, and when he lands, beams of holy energy also descend on the spot, so you need a lot of patience for this one. At the start of the phase, run as fast as you can towards him because a big combustion of Miquella's white energy is coming. Don't get grabbed twice or you will be in for a treat. When he sucks you towards him, run away immediately, and when he turns into a meteor, very nostalgic, just run away full sprint until you notice he has already landed, signaled by how your screen starts having convulsions and some whiffs of fire will appear next to you. So, if it's such a cool fight, why is it number 2 spot? Well, I think it is excessively hard. So much so that the experience starts feeling unfair for a player who likes to do things solo. I have platinumed all Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Sekiro, Bloodborne, Nioh, and I have never seen such a difficult fight, not even Malenia. I am pretty sure they wanted to go out with a boom and do something very memorable for what can be Elden Ring's final boss, but if you remove the fact that this is Radahn fusioned with Mohg, I think people would like this fight a lot less. I get that seeing him again using some of his old moves plus some new ones, the meteor drop attack, all of this is awesome, but I would be lying if I said I think this is a fair fight. The margin of error is too small, the damage is way too big, he attacks way too much, he gets second phase at like 2/3 of his health instead of halfway through. And it feels like I have to master every projection timing, every move to be able to finish this. I am not ashamed to say that things are getting a bit out of hand for people who like to play with no cheese and no summons, no T-shit, no spear and shields to poke him to death. I know this is a huge ongoing debate in the community, like they give us spirit summons, why not use them? And I am okay with it, I just don't like how it feels where spirits get the aggro and I get a few cheap hits every now and then at the boss's back with no peril because he is distracted with another AI. It doesn't feel fair, but at the same time, this fight one-on-one didn't feel fair either, at least for me. Leave a comment with your thoughts. I want to know if more classic players feel the same way or I just need to get even gooder. The Banished Child, the Serpent Tamer. The man your girlfriend feels jealous of. The face of the DLC, the one and only Mercer.
Of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Nesmus flame.
Hands down, the best remembrance boss and perhaps the best boss in the whole DLC. The voice actor did an amazing job, his voice itself fits the character like a glove. His attacks are fast-paced but fair. It is not hard to understand what is going on. What moment you must evade, the moment you have to punish him. He never feels wrong, except for one situation in the second phase, which I'll mention later. His phase 1 attacks range between easy, medium and hard to detect when and where to evade to. The spear throw is definitely very easy. The fire curtain with a thrust coming from behind, ooh, that's nasty, but definitely not that hard. And others, like the Ash of War you get after equipping his spear, can be difficult to dodge entirely, especially that moment when he thrusts the spear multiple times while in the air. And the grab, oof, that grab, kind of reminiscent of Melania's. Looks very neat and painful. Phase 2 also has a cutscene, which shows how he is infested by a dark snake and his eye was actually a seal his mother, Marika, put in his eye socket to contain the serpent curse. By removing it, he gives into that curse only to beat you. Feels very dramatic and reminiscent of how Lady Maria gave into the blood magic only to beat the hunter. Now he is much more agile and uses giant serpent attacks to damage you and move around the arena. The only thing I dislike about this phase is how when he charges his what we can call an ultimate attack, the one where serpents swarm the arena, it feels a bit unfair since if you strike him with a heavy attack or a heavy jump attack and he decides to go for that, the moment you attack, you'll get hit by the area explosion, which does not benefit you since many snakes are about to come after you and you need to be standing up, ready to dodge. But that's that. There's nothing else I would say about it. I think his design is very cool looking, his fighting style is pretty badass, and how he implements the big snakes and follow-ups in his second phase is awesome. His track is one of the best in the DLC, he has 2 cutscenes and both are beautifully intimidating, and lastly, his voice actor nailed it. Period. Thank you comrades for watching this, make sure to subscribe if you have enjoyed the video. And if you have any video ideas related to the DLC that you would like to see me cover, let me know. I'll be reading you.